Welcome to the Language Alchemy podcast, and thank you for joining me today. This is your host, Alejandra Siroka, a transformative communication teacher and coach who is devoted to helping multicultural individuals, change agents, and couples engaged in personal growth transform their lives and relationships through conscious communication. Thank you so much for being here today. I have a super special episode because this episode is the third anniversary of the Language Alchemy podcast. And I have invited you, my listeners, to celebrate with me in a live event. So, in this episode, we're all going to hear how you are using the Language Alchemy podcast. So, let's dive in. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to say that I just feel so tender in my heart and joyful that you are coming to celebrate the third year of the Language Alchemy podcast. That, as you know, started because some of you asked me to have this podcast, and two of these people are here. When you said you need to have a podcast after the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd, when I felt compelled to offer tools for free and to do something to contribute to peace and well-being. So I can't believe that we have released 150 episodes. I'm grateful for your support. The Language Alchemy podcast is for you. So it's just wonderful to see you in here, to see your faces, because usually when I'm recording a podcast, all I'm looking at is a microphone or a camera. So it's so much nicer to see you live. I want to share with you that it's not only our third year, well, we're going into our fourth year, and it's not only 150 episodes that we have released, but in these last 3 years, we have had about 20,000 downloads. And there are people in 29 states in the United States who are listening to the podcast, and people in over 48 countries around the world who are listening every week. So I am so grateful that this work is going out there, that it's available in every audio podcast platform, that this year we added the podcast to YouTube so that people can also watch the podcast, and that people can have these episodes and these transformative tools for free. In the podcast, we offer communication tools to communicate with clarity, confidence, and compassion with people in your family, with your group of friends, with a romantic partner, with people in the workplace, and also in your internal dialogue with yourself. And in these 150 episodes, we have also devoted many episodes to talk about important topics that require our conscious and skillful communication. Topics such as racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, misogyny, and intolerance of all forms. And we have also devoted many episodes to talk about how we can bring forth more joy, more love, and more healing to all our relationships with our precious human family. I could not do this without all of you listening, emailing me, asking me questions, sending me text messages about the episodes, sharing the podcast with others, leaving reviews on Apple Podcasts. So thank you. Thank you to all of you. I do these podcasts for you, and it is really you, and together with my commitment to bring forth transformative communication tools for free, that keep me going. And before I open the mic, I want to share that the Language Alchemy podcast is a labor of love. Even though you hear my voice in every episode, I really want you to know that each episode has about 10 people working behind the scenes. Starting from my beloved Matthew, who is here, who is also my #1 supporter, the Language Alchemy editor-in-chief, He helps me with outlines of episodes when I've been working on an episode for like 3 or 4 hours and I'm like scratching my head and feeling like, I don't know, maybe this is too long. Maybe this story doesn't work. And then I reach out to him and in 5 minutes, it's like, how about you do this and this and that? Magic. Alchemy. He also edited every single newsletter you get in your inbox. And he also has a very important job, which is to keep the household quiet. That is to say, our very vocal cats quiet when I'm recording. So thank you so much, love. I love you. And I'm so grateful for your support. And I also want to appreciate Jillian, who's here, my wonderful assistant and Language Alchemy team member, who listens to every episode to make sure the sound and the video editing are okay and that you're not hearing coughs or or other things, and who also oversees the captioning for the episodes we put on YouTube and then social media and many other things. Jillian, thank you so much. I so appreciate you, especially because just so you know what kind of commitment Jillian has, her mom is having surgery at this moment and she is here with us. So let's just send her mom really good wishes for a successful surgery. Also, there are other people who work on the podcast, all the members of the Hivecast team who edit the audio and they produce the podcast show notes. And then to all the members of Booming Brand Media who edit the videos for YouTube. And of course, to all the wonderful guests who allow me to interview them about their communication. And two of my favorite are right here. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And now I want to open up the mic and hear your voices because that's also a gift to me to hear from my listeners.
I'm Dazza Greenwood. For much of the podcast, I listened from Cambridge, Massachusetts, but now I'm glad to be listening from my original birthing place of Oakland, California, where I belong. And I'm there right now. The distinction you made in this most recent podcast between envy and jealousy really hit home. And it really changed the language that I'm using, because I frequently have just said, informally, oh, I'm so jealous of whatever, of you or of this, because I don't know, I guess I deemed it like an idiom or something, or informal, but actually it has a meaning and it sends a whole vibration. And when you explained, how you felt when people had said that, when what they meant was perhaps envious or something along those lines, really left a deep impression. And it's already started to change my language. And then thinking about even what the feeling of envy is maybe like a whole nother topic. But just distinguishing that from the word jealousy was tremendous. And it's just such an example of the distinctions and the skillful use of language. So much part of the fabric of what you do with the podcast. It's why I'm a frequent listener and I guess a second-time caller.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I so appreciate the emails that you send me when something resonates with you, or where you say, oh, I took notes. You asked me to take notes in this episode, and I took notes and I have them right here. Thank you, Dazza.
Hi, everybody. I am Patricia. I am Alejandra's sister, and I am her biggest fan. I am listening to you from Bahía Blanca, Argentina. Bahía Blanca is a city in the south of Buenos Aires. I am very proud of her, and I always wanted to support her because I think that she's a really wise person. And since she was a little girl, she was always trying to help communication skills. I don't listen to all her podcasts, that is the truth. As Dazza said, for me, it was quite enlightening, the one about jealousy and envy, because I think that everybody suffers from those feelings without knowing exactly what they mean. Like it very much was about the one she posted about the 150 touchy questions people ask you, which sometimes are very difficult to answer. And I want to be brief But last year I was undergoing a really tough situation with my elder sister and also my mother. All the tips and the hints Ale gave me really helped me to grow a better relationship. And I am very, very thankful because of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Patri. I love you.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I use they, them pronouns. This is my fiance, Britt. He uses he, they pronouns. I just wanted to actually comment on being a part of your podcast. We recently were guests on your podcast together. We've both done episodes individually, and then you recently asked us to be a part of your podcast together. And in that preparation, we were talking about our relationship and the trajectory of our relationship and remembering about our connection and how it developed and the timeline of our relationship. It was a really sweet, lovely experience. We learned new things about each of our individual experiences and coming to that connection in preparation for being part of that podcast. So I would say that that's my favorite episode because of the way Britt and I related in preparing for being on it. And that was really valuable to me.
Yeah, I guess in addition to Shannon's share about how much our relationship benefited just from participating in your podcast, my personal participation in your podcast came at a really important time when I was learning how to come out about being trans. And so it helps me create more connections with the people around me, like reflect back and talk with people. It just helped me make different connections with my family and friends and the people that I work with. I really appreciate that.
And I also wanted to reflect that you did a really brilliant series of episodes on when people come out to you and how to receive that and how not to receive that. And I thought those episodes were uniquely brilliant. Even as a queer person, I learned from them. I am always amazed at the level of it's beyond allyship what you bring to the queer community and to the queer people in your lives, Alejandra, and that comes through on your podcast. And I don't know if you even know like how important your contribution is. And I hope that other people get to receive that because it's really beautiful. It's meant a lot to us. So thank you.
And you, Maria, where are you?
I am near Boston, Massachusetts, where Alejandra used to live. I live in Watertown. For me, the episode 114, 5 Steps to Break the Spell of Mind Story, which was a while ago, was a good one for me. I don't get to listen to all your episodes as much as I would like, but I do love them when I do listen to them. And this one resonated with me because you were giving an example of a person who was going way ahead of her in her mind, telling herself that she needed to quit her job, resonated with me. And I liked your steps of give yourself space to pause and ask yourself if the story you're telling is really reality or, and share it with somebody else. Recently, I was sharing with my old boss, who was part of the reason why I changed jobs and he left. And I was so disappointed when he left. And he just pumped me up and he made me change my storytelling in my head that I was like, oh, I don't have the resources I need, or I don't have this or that. And he's like, no, he's like, I have 120% confidence in you. But it also reminded me to stop that storytelling in my head. I just wish I could do it more on my own. So I'm going to go back. I just recently went back and listened to that episode because I need to do those 5 steps and make sure I'm not listening to that internal dialogue or like paying attention to, well, what's reality and what's not.
Thank you so much, Maria. Yeah, it's so important. And, you're bringing something up that many of these podcasts, because they're out there, you can listen to them again and again and again. And you can write down the steps. You can have them on your phone on the ready. So when you notice you're having a story, you can then pop up your phone, open the notes, and then see those 5 steps too. Or you can save it and listen to that episode again. Thank you so much. Amber.
I just wanted to say all the podcasts I've listened to have been wonderful. I feel they're all super valuable, and what I really appreciate in my stage of life is the ones that support maintaining long-term relationships, so happy and long relationships. And there have been several that have been around that topic. What I appreciate about it is that you really give people the opportunity to figure out how to speak so that they're not just caught in that ever common place of like, oh, I just don't know what to say, or I can't say it right, so I'm not going to say anything at all. You offer the words that are needed. And also that it gives us a chance, at least it gives me a chance to think about what's really important for me. So it's both an internal support and relational support. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Amber. Oh, it's so wonderful to hear how each of you are listening for different things and you are getting different things out of the podcast, but they're all tools that you're including in your communication and giving you a deeper sense of connection with yourself or with others.
Hi, my name is Tia, and she or they are fine for me, and I do most of my everything, including listening, in San Francisco, California. I'm with your sister. I don't listen to all of them. However, your newsletter is one of the very few newsletters, even with organizations that I am associated with. I do not get the newsletter in the email that I check daily. I put all of that stuff in when I have time to look at newsletters, I will open this email, but you come to my regular daily inbox. So I have the opportunity to spend you get first crack at that time. And so sometimes I just read it, and sometimes I read it and I listen to it. I have a really close friend and for a long time. So long-term relationship with a lot of different phases. And the last phase was a really difficult one. And part of our working on reconnecting what's reconnectable is me sending oh, this is something we've talked about either recently or ever, and you can hear it in somebody else's voice who's really wise and skillful in their presentation. So I'm one of the sharers for the ones that seem relevant in this place where I have permission to send it onto, and it matters. It matters. So thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, and thank you for also commenting on the newsletters, because every week I think about what can I share that could support someone. And it's usually a combination of hearing what's going on in the world, hearing what's going on internally in my world, and also hearing what my clients are asking about. There are these common themes sometimes in sessions. So I bring that forth, and I want to be pithy, and I want to offer stories so that you remember the tools and the content that I share on the newsletters. I don't share it anywhere else, because to me, it's like a love letter to you. I want to send you a love letter every week. So I'm so grateful, Tia, that you open those newsletters and that you keep that newsletter and you say, yes, I'm going to check that out. Thank you.
I just wanted to agree with Tia that I do enjoy your newsletters, and sometimes I'm like, oh God, that was so touching, and I mean to write to you, but the jealousy and envy story just in the newsletter was very interesting. And there were some others. Oh, the one with the soccer game. Oh my God. I don't know if you've turned that into a podcast, but I meant to write to you. What an experience you had. Boy, so thank you. You really pour your heart into that, and I appreciate it in those newsletters.
Tell us, Augusta, where you are listening from.
I'm in San Francisco also. I started seeing Alejandra quite a long time ago, and I keep coming back and back and back, and I've been recommending my whole family and more people and telling them about you. The podcasts I have listened to are great. And you said you write love letters to those of us who listen to the podcast, but I actually think that everything you say is kind of a love letter. I mean, you have an incredible skill and insight that just sort of cuts through stuff. It's really impressive. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Augusta.
Well, I just wanted to give a little behind the scenes additional backup on the newsletter that you really do, or for those of you listening, Alejandra really spends a lot of time thinking about what would be helpful, what would be useful. Sometimes what she wants to write about isn't what's coming out authentically, and then she has to change channels and do something totally different and write something else. And so even in the very process of writing the newsletter, she's engaging in authentic communication with all of you about what's really alive for her, what's coming through, what feels like it can be shared in a way that's useful. And I admire that, and I get to see that every week when the request for editing comes into my inbox.
I wanted to add something that is related to the ripple effect that you have in terms of the skill that you model and teach. I have lots of friends who come to me now for support because they know that I'm somebody who can hold space for them in a way that feels nurturing to them and give them feedback in ways that feel expansive to them rather than triggering or critical. So even the people who don't necessarily have direct contact with you or your podcast or your newsletter are benefiting from what you have taught the rest of us, because now they are learning from us and then turning around and modeling that for the people in their lives. And I wanted to reflect that to you because in this conversation, you know, I talk about you probably 100 times a week. And my friend knows that most of my skills come from working with you. And they said, you know, it's clear that your communication coach has taught you so much because I benefit from that every single time that we talk. And in fact, in our relationship, now I benefit from what I learned from you because now it comes back to me. So it's this great feedback loop.
Yeah. Wow.
So thank you for that. Thank you for the gifts you've given me and the gifts that you are giving to the people in my life through me and sometimes through you, since I send so many people to you as well.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Shannon.
I just wanted to also mention that I feel very fortunate to work with Alejandra. The support and compassion that she teaches, she actually lives that in our work environment as well. And I feel very, very privileged to be able to work with her. It's on a daily basis. It brings a lot to my life as well. And I also feel very fortunate that I get to kind of go through all of her teachings with a fine-tooth comb and get to absorb and digest it on a level I don't think I would if I was just reading a newsletter or listening to a podcast. So I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. It's such a gift to hear from all of you. Whew, I'm feeling the gratitude and also the celebration. And I have one extra piece of celebration. Some of you may know this, but not all of you know that for the last year, I have been working with a book coach because I've been working on a book, I'm writing a book, and I've been working with a book coach on a book proposal to submit it to publishing houses, and Hay House Publishing House has a contest. So I submitted the proposal to Hay House and I won. And the book is called Language Alchemy, the Essential Communication Toolkit for a Life of Peace, Authenticity, and Meaning, an embodied path for conscious relating. So I'm just so grateful that something that I've been working on for so long has come to fruition, and that I will be able to have this for the world. And as you know, what I share even though my name is Alejandra Siroka, I wanted to be known as Language Alchemy because it's not about me and it's much bigger than me. It's what I think is coming through me. I'm very grateful to be a vehicle of love, as many of you have said, for conscious communication, but it's something that's much, much bigger than me. So thank you so much. All right, everybody. So we're coming to the end of this episode. So thank you so much for listening. Until next episode, and as we say in Argentina, ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Original music by Gary Lapoe. You can find all links in the show notes at languagealchemy.com.